everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Megan, and today we're going to be discussing episode 8 of Traitors. So let's get into it. At first, I was a little sad about this episode, just because everything is now coming closer to an end. Like, there's less and less people, so I feel all the loud and entertaining people are leaving. However, at the end of the episode, when we see who Rob recruits, I'm just so excited for the next few episodes. I'm really excited to see how it ends. But before we get to that, the beginning of the episode starts with them in the turret. So you have Candace and you have Rob. And he says something like, "Do you want me to explain myself?" And she's like, "Yeah, that'd be great, actually." And like, Rob doesn't really say much. He just says, he's like, "As a person, I'm really sad to see her go. But as a player, she needed to go. Lisa." And I was like, I thought he would explain a little bit more in the turret. Maybe he did and we didn't see it. But sometimes I feel like in his confessionals to us as the audience, he's more transparent to us versus sometimes of his traitor teammates. But I don't, like I said, I don't know if that's just the edit where we don't see him elaborate. It was really interesting when Rob kind of gave her the reins in the turret on who she wants to like murder. I think murdering Colton was actually probably like the dumbest thing that Candace could do. And I think Rob is acting the same way with Lisa. It's like, you're already a sinking ship. Like, why do I need to come in and try to save you when you clearly aren't open to listening on what's going on in the house? Because like he even said in a previous confessional, like a couple episodes ago, there's only so much that he can do to protect his fellow traitors. Because at the end of the day, he still has to look out for himself too. And I feel like a lot of people who maybe don't watch like game shows or don't really understand about this game is that you could only be a team for so long. Same with like Big Brother and Survivor. You could only be with a large amount of people or a small amount of people for a certain amount of time. Sometimes you only need that one other person to get to the end. Whereas like this one, you have an opportunity to take the whole thing. And so he's looking out for himself. I love how in every explanation, Rob uses like chess vocabulary to describe like how he's playing the game. I think it's just so great. Like, I don't play chess, but I like know how it works. I used to play growing up, but like not like super competitive. And so when he's like, well, Candace is not in check, but I have her queen. She doesn't have many pieces left to play on the board. Like, I don't know. It's just kind of fun. Like, I like when people use, like, even with guys to girls, like, I'm big into sports. So whenever, like, a guy tries to explain something to a girl in either, like, Sports Reference or something else, I just think it's so funny. I love, like, strategic games. And so whenever, you know, someone explains their thinking through, like, a metaphor of something else, I think it's just so great. I was genuinely shocked at breakfast when we do find out that Colton was murdered. I just didn't know if they would have like the guts to murder him. I personally think it was probably like a waste of a murder if you look at the whole entire game. I think if, like, let's say Candace, for example, if she wanted to have longevity in the game, she didn't. It's so obvious for her to murder Colton. And the fact that she doesn't understand that, like, blows my mind. She talks in the confessional about like how like bad like Rob is playing. Well, I'm like, Rob's playing the game and you're playing the game at some point too, but it's like you clearly don't see or self-aware enough to see these certain things happen. Like when she decided to call out Rob after, like, right before the banishment table, she's like, well, why is my name coming up? And he was like, Colton. And she's like, well, you must have knew that from like yesterday. And I'm like, oh, now it's clicking to you that Colton wants to come after you. Like, now it's just like clicking to you. Like, I don't, like, you couldn't tell that from the turret. Like, you knew it was a bad decision to murder Colton. Like, I don't know. Like, she is just piling on her demise and she's like taking out on Rob. And I'm like, it's so funny how she's self-aware after the fact, but then she kind of is self-aware in the confessionals, knowing that, like, hey, like, Rob's gonna get to both of us. But it's just, like, I don't know if it's the communication. I don't know what the issue is. But, like, Candace, I don't know if it's just, like, a housewife things. because like they need to take the emotion out, or if you're like smart enough, you should be able to see as a traitor like kind of what's like happening in front of you. It's not like, I don't know. I don't know. It's just like some of these people are sinking ships, and it's just common sense to, maybe because I watched like Big Brother growing up. So it's like you always want to keep the loudest people in the house because that causes chaos, and then everyone else floats under the radar. And you know you can murder them, or you can not murder them. You know you can evict them at any point in time. And so I think that's why it's imperative to keep those loud people in the house. Same with Colton. I think it was just like, it was a bad move on her part. But I think with everything that Rob has been through, and even Candace calling him out at the table, I feel like everyone is just on board on how he's a faithful. Like, nothing else could really go wrong for Rob unless he like screws it up himself. But everything just keeps getting like better and better for him. And even though when it seems like he's down in the dumps, and it's just like this episode, I'm like, why aren't you retaliating against Candace about these certain things? But then it's just, then you see him talk about it in the confessional and compares it to like chess and all this other stuff, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense why he is so even keeled about it. But he has to be. You kind of have to be evenly keeled in these type of games. And so I think with the different type of reality stars that come to the show, it does bring like a bit of chaos, what it does in like civilian seasons, because you have different personalities. And sometimes the housewives are going to be, they could get forward. You could float them towards part of the game because you're going to, manipulate them and use them to your advantage, which I think is what like Rob did up until their points of leaving. And then now it's like you got to regroup, and it's like, okay, who's next to manipulate? Well, you're recruiting Eric, which I think Eric is a good choice. I'm kind of excited to see if he can like handle it, because he's like, oh, this is what you get for being nice. I absolutely loved that moment. And I know I loved seeing Rob and Eric together ever since the first episode, when they're having banter, or when they had banter, when they were down by the fire pit, when they were all standing on the stairs, like Eric and Rob like gravitated toward each other, and they've always been close. Because they kind of remind me a little bit of like Peter and Kevin in season 2. I'm really excited to see if Eric can pull it off as a traitor. It'd be kind of cool if both Eric and Rob can make it to the final. I think like Rob is just, it kind of reminds me of like Dan in season 14. Like, you just knew that Dan in Big Brother, you just knew that Dan was going to get to the final. Like, he was just way above everybody else. Yes, he didn't win in the end. But like, just to get to the final, I feel like that might happen to Rob. Like, he may get all the way to the end, and he could like lose it at that very last moment. And you just look at all the work that you've done to just fall short. So hopefully he doesn't fall short. I really do want Rob to win. I think he's in the best position. It's just how quickly other people can catch on. But based on like Kristen and Eric, how they both said like he's just like way too nice to be a traitor, which other people have said that in the house. So normally if you say something like that, more than likely that person's probably going to be a traitor. The challenge was really cool. It reminded me of a challenge from last season. But I don't know if like Rob was playing the game at all, like playing a game within a game, because their group kept getting Candace and Eric's group wrong. And I'm like, for knowing like how good they were at the girls, I feel like the girls weren't the best at acting out the pictures. I feel like the other group was better. But the fact that they could not get that group's right like blew my mind. And I was just like, I wonder, like with the comments that Rob made, I wonder if he was just doing it to like piss Candace off. But maybe not, because they're obviously playing for money in the pot. So I just was thinking that throughout the time. I'm like, how are they getting Candace's groups wrong? Like, it's blatantly obvious like what type of photo that they had. But I guess again, it goes to show like everyone has like a different perspective on the things that they see. So I know he let, was it Steven and Kristen kind of take reins for that. Or no, Steven wasn't in there. Who was he in with? It was Rob, Kristen. Oh, it might have been Mark. Mark might have been in there. No, I'm just so excited to see where the rest of the season goes. Now I feel like we've reset. Like now with the two housewife traitors out, now it's just Rob, and then he recruits Eric. and I feel like the game's gonna reset a little bit. So I'm interested to see who's going to be speaking up, because I feel like we have now the people who say the least are now in the game. So they're definitely going to have to be a little bit more smart and vocal about who is left. I wonder if they will be notified that there was a recruit. That's what I want to know. I'm sure Alan will tell us next week. But in the preview, it looks like everyone is pretty much in the preview for next week. Or at least you have those like one shots to the camera. At the round table, you definitely see Mark at the round table. And you see like Kristen, Eric at the round table. I don't know who they're going to murder. I'm trying to think who would be the best to murder. I feel like Dorinda, since she's just kind of out on an island, that'd probably be like, I don't want to say the safest bet, but it'd be a safest bet in terms of like not knowing who the traitors would be, because Dorinda is just kind of floating out there. Maybe they'll think it's a guy, so maybe they'll need to keep the guys around, but there's 5 guys and 5 girls left. So I've no idea. Definitely probably want to keep Natalie and Steven, because their names have been floated around. So they would probably be good to keep for like a banishment. Same with Johnny. I think Johnny would probably be the next one banished based on the interactions and the downfall with Candace and everything. So like Kristen can't be murdered because she has a shield. So yeah. Oh man, I'm so excited. I am so excited. I just want these last episodes to be here. That's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.